Close your eyes for a second and listen to the rhythm of your own heartbeat. That steady, quiet thumping in your chest isn't just keeping you alive, it is an ancient echo. It's the exact same rhythm that echoed through the wilderness millions of years before humans ever built their first campfire. Somewhere along the line, we looked at our concrete cities, our glowing screens, and our complex societies, and we convinced ourselves of a massive lie, that we had successfully escaped the animal kingdom. We started treating nature like a museum we visit, or a resource to conquer. But if you strip away the clothes, the technology, and the modern anxieties, you are left with a spectacular truth. You aren't just watching nature, you are the wild, wrapped in a human suit. And right now, the modern world is testing us in ways our brains weren't originally designed to handle. To survive it, we don't need more technology. We need to look at the hidden blueprints our animal cousins are using every single day. Take the sheer weight of modern stress. We live in a culture that treats life like an endless highway, no stop signs, no exits, just a constant, high-speed grind. But if you look into the frozen wilderness, you find a masterclass in a concept humans have completely forgotten: the power of strategic retreat. When the winter turns brutal and resources vanish, the grizzly bear doesn't panic, and it doesn't try to force its way through the famine. It surrenders to the season. It enters a state of hibernation so profound that its heart rate drops to just 9 beats per minute, preserving its strength and rewriting its biology to survive the dark. Even more radical is the axolotl, a creature that doesn't just endure damage, it treats injury as an opportunity to rebuild, effortlessly regenerating its own limbs, spinal cord, and heart tissue. We treat exhaustion and vulnerability like failures, but our biology is screaming at us to copy the bear and the axolotl, to understand that rest is an aggressive act of restoration, and that stepping back into the quiet isn't quitting, it's how you heal. But what happens when the environment around you changes completely, and resources run entirely dry? When you face a period of your life where you feel emotionally or mentally drained, yet the world keeps demanding that you march forward. For that, we look to the deep deserts, where the camel thrives in conditions that would destroy almost any other living thing. The camel doesn't survive the scorching, barren wastes by fighting the heat. It survives through unparalleled internal efficiency. It can fluctuate its own body temperature to avoid sweating and losing water. It stores fat in its hump to rely on when there is absolutely nothing left to consume, converting that storage into energy and hydration over weeks of isolation. It moves steadily, pacing itself through the shifting sands, refusing to rush. The camel is a living reminder that resilience isn't about rushing to the finish line or panicking when your surroundings become empty. It's about managing your inner reserves, pacing your energy, and trusting that you are built to survive the dry seasons of life. Once you master your internal reserves, you are forced to step back out into the noise of the world. Every single day, you have to navigate a massive web of social politics, workplace hierarchies, and intense family dynamics. It is exhausting. Yet, the secret to mastering human relationships doesn't belong to psychology textbooks, it belongs to the wolves and the ants. A single wolf is a tragic figure. It lacks the mass to bring down large prey and the speed to escape larger competitors. But when a pack moves together, they operate with a flawless, unspoken telepathy, communicating through a language of glances and micro-movements to achieve the impossible. Meanwhile, beneath your feet, ants are executing the ultimate form of decentralized teamwork. Millions of individuals move in perfect sync, building massive, climate-controlled subterranean cities without a single manager ever giving an order. They understand something modern humans constantly fight against. True power is never about the individual standing alone, it's about the pack. We built our entire civilization on the wolf's loyalty and the ant's collective soul. The moment we isolate ourselves, we break. And our connection to the pack runs much deeper than just working together to build things. It runs straight into the rawest, heaviest parts of our emotional lives. We often treat deep emotions like grief, empathy, and long-term memory of pain as if they are uniquely human burdens, or perhaps flaws in our logical minds. But nature shows us that emotion is actually an evolutionary superpower. On land, when an elephant matriarch passes away, the entire herd pauses. They gather around the fallen, touching the bones with their trunks in a silent, heartbreaking ritual of mourning. They don't just forget and move on. They will revisit that exact spot decades later, remembering who she was and what she meant to the herd. This deep emotional memory is what allows elephants to protect their young and pass down survival knowledge through generations. When you feel a profound sense of loss or an overwhelming wave of empathy for a stranger, you aren't experiencing a weakness. You are tapping into an ancient, emotional resonance that we share with the gentlest giants of the earth. Emotions are the glue that holds societies together, a survival mechanism older than our very language. It is that very language and intellect that we pride ourselves on, but we like to imagine that human logic is a unique pinnacle of evolution. What if intelligence isn't a straight line? What if it's a completely different shape? Consider the octopus. It is a creature so utterly bizarre it feels like it fell out of a spaceship. 2/3 of its neurons aren't even in its brain, they are distributed throughout its arms. That means each tentacle can touch, taste, solve a complex puzzle, and make decisions completely independent of the central mind. When an octopus escapes a sealed jar, or mimics the texture of a rock, it isn't following a rigid plan, it is flowing. In a world that demands we be rigid, structured, and predictable, the octopus demands that we look at our problems from the outside in. It teaches us cognitive flexibility, the radical idea that when a situation changes, you don't stick to the old script. You change your shape, you decentralize your thinking, and you adapt to the chaos. Even the tools we use to navigate that chaos aren't as uniquely human as we think. Think of a crow, a bird we often dismiss as a mere scavenger. When a crow faces a problem like a piece of food trapped inside a narrow tube, it doesn't just react with frustration. It analyzes. It will find a straight piece of wire, bend the tip with its beak to create a hook, and fish the food out. That is conscious, deliberate innovation. And when that crow goes back to its family, it passes that knowledge down to the next generation. We aren't the authors of creativity. We are just practicing an art form that the birds perfected in the trees. When you sit back and look at the full picture, the illusion of human isolation completely evaporates. You are a living, breathing mosaic of the natural world. You possess the analytical genius of the crow, the unbreakable social bond of the wolf, the restorative discipline of the bear, the resourcefulness of the camel, the emotional depth of the elephant, and the fluid mind of the octopus. Evolution didn't leave these traits behind in the ancient oceans or the deep forests. It packed them directly into your DNA as the ultimate survival kit. The chaotic, fast-paced world we've built isn't going to slow down for us. It's going to keep demanding more focus, more resilience, and more adaptability. So, the next time you feel lost in the noise of the concrete jungle, stop looking at the screens for a way out. Look into the mirror. Remember the ancient rhythm beating in your chest, and realize that you already have the instructions to survive. You just have to look at the wild inside you and decide which part of the blueprint you are going to unlock next.